Hi YouTube, it's Kathy and this is my weekly entertainment wrap-up for May 17th through 23rd. This week I read 4 books, I watched 3 shows, and I listened to 2 books. This week was the Plug and Readathon, which is focusing on reading digital works, so audiobooks, ebooks, webcomics, that type of thing. And even though my brain is all over the place these days, I somehow managed to finish my TBR with 1 substitution. First I finished TheFive, which is a biography of the 5 women who were supposedly killed by Jack the Ripper. Obviously this was a big sensational case, but it always focused on the Jack the Ripper aspect, the person doing the killing aspect, and the fact that nobody figured out who it was, and not on the people that were actually killed. And when the media at the time did focus on those 5 women, it painted all of them as sex workers, whether or not that was true, and decided that since they were sex workers, they kind of deserved it. I found this a thoroughly intriguing non-fiction work talking about these 5 different women. From the movies, you would think that all of the women were in their early 20s, and that, for example, is false. The first 4 women were in their 40s, and the last one was 25 when she died. These women also lived tragic, interesting lives, and it was very fulfilling to see that on the page. If you are a true crime fan but want a different take on this thing that we all kind of know about but don't really know about, read this book. Next I read Lock Every Door by Riley Sager. This is about a girl who moves into this very fancy Manhattan building called the Bartholomew shortly after she finds out her boyfriend is cheating on her, and she realizes that she just needs a job. Apparently this place is not allowed to have a flat open for more than 3 months, and they will actually pay people to stay in the apartments because of some co-op rule. The reason she caught her boyfriend cheating in the first place is because she had been laid off for a job, so she went home early, found him cheating, lost her boyfriend, her job, her apartment all in the same day, has been staying with a friend, but decides to move into this apartment because it's gonna pay $4,000 a month. And unlike our current situation, she's actually allowed to leave the apartment. If I could be paid $4,000 a month for staying indoors right now, I would grab that chance. However, of course, because it's a mystery thriller, things are not as they seem, and things start getting a little bit creepy and weird. I really enjoyed this one because the red herrings were played very, very well. It makes you think that it's going to go in one direction and then it goes in another direction, and I really enjoyed that. I also enjoyed getting to know her backstory and why that made her react in the way that she did. This also plays a little bit of back and forth between now and previously, and that aspect of it also plays with your mind, which I thought was really well done. This is a solid mystery thriller, so if that's right up your alley, this is one to check out. Then, incredibly late last night, I finished the Henna War. This is a YA contemporary novel about our main character who has just come out to her parents as a lesbian, and she is Muslim and her parents don't really understand. They think that this is something she's picked up while they're living in Ireland, because being queer is just not part of Bengali culture. What is part of her culture, however, is henna, so when she gets an assignment to create her own business, she wants to create a henna shop. The problem is, somebody else in her class, who she happens to have a crush on, also wants to create a henna business. Henna, however, is not part of that person's culture, so this causes some issues. I really enjoyed the varied discussions we got in this one, how you can be queer and you can be Muslim, about cultural appropriation, about how the bus system in Dublin is just the worst, because I used to live there and I can attest to it was. There was this one line about how the bus system, as always, is unpredictable, and I felt that so hard because the buses in Dublin, oh, you don't know if they're ever gonna come. No. This was a cute romance that also managed to deal with racism and homophobia and xenophobia, and I really appreciated it for that. This week for my webcomic, I also finally started reading Lore Olympus. This has about 111 updates at the moment, and I'm somewhere in the 70s, so I read a couple of years worth of it. Firstly, I'd like to make a public apology to my friend Paige for not starting this sooner, because I've had this tab open for literal years and just got around to it. This is a sort of modernized retelling of Persephone and Hades, and it's just done in such interesting ways. He, of course, is the king of the underworld, but doesn't have a queen, and he has been dating this one woman, but she seems like kind of the worst, so who knows how that's gonna go. And he has to go to this party for his brother Zeus because it's like a marriage anniversary or something with Hera. And when he's there, he sees Persephone from across the room and makes the mistake of saying she puts Athena to shame, and Athena takes offense to this because of course she does. This webcomic is just full of all of the feelings. There are trigger warnings for sexual assault, and there's actually trigger warnings at the beginning of the episodes of each of them that deal with that, so they're easy to skip if you need to. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm sure I'm going to catch up on it this week. One of the shows I watch, we're still doing a rewatch of Scandal. We finished season 2, got a couple of episodes into season 3, and the reveal at the end of season 2, it was so fun to watch my roommate realize how those characters were connected. I was waiting for it for so many episodes, it was so delightful. I also watched a few more episodes of RuPaul's Drag Race season 3 because why not? It's just fun. It's something to throw on when I just want to sit down and not read, but need to do something while I'm eating, so I just watch an episode or two. This is of course also a rewatch for me, so I'm not really invested in how it's going to end because I know how it's going to end, but I like seeing the process. This is also, I think, the first season that had a bunch of twists in it, so that's fun too. And then the thing that is kind of always playing in the background is The Simpsons. A lot of season 12 was playing this week. It's strange to hear these pop culture phrases that I've heard many, many, many times since watching The Simpsons and be like, oh yeah, that's where that comes from. This week I also listened to No Country for Old Gnomes. This is the second in the Tales of Pell series. I think this is a trilogy. I think there's only 3 in this series, at least so far. And this is a fantasy series that is incredibly filled with puns. The first one was a lot of fun and I really enjoyed it. This one was also fun, but for whatever reason I liked it slightly less than the first one. This one was fun because it opened us up to a bunch of different new characters. It brought back some old characters just to kind of tie the plot together, and I really enjoyed that. I'm interested to see where the 3rd book in the series goes. And my final audiobook this week was a reread of The Hunger Games, which I haven't read in a very long time. What was awesome about this is this was actually narrated by Tatiana Maslany, who I absolutely love. If you've ever seen Orphan Black, she plays half the characters in that one. Unfortunately, I didn't realize that my library has the original narration as well as the Tatiana Maslany narration, so when I was putting holds on audiobooks, I put a hold on The Hunger Games with Tatiana Maslany, and then the other 2 books with the other narrator, who I'm sure would have been fine if I hadn't already listened to The Hunger Games with Tatiana Maslany, but I started reading the 2nd book as an audiobook, and the voice is fine, but she gives me vibes of a half-British 30-year-old woman instead of Katniss Everdeen, so there's that. It's fine, like I can listen to it and it's totally fine. It's just weird because I hate going from one narrator to a different narrator in the same series. But that was my fault. I should have paid more attention when I was placing holds on audiobooks. I feel like this is one of those books that everyone knows, but in case you haven't, it's about this dystopian society where there are 12 districts in a capital in what used to be North America, and each district has to send 1 girl and 1 boy between the ages of 12 and 18 to this thing called the Hunger Games every year, which is basically a big competition where everybody kills each other and there's 1 victor left standing. And this is because there was an uprising previous to this, and this is basically the capital's way of still keeping the people down. I was mostly interested in rereading this because I recently read The Dark Fantastic, which has to do with people of color in fantasy, and it talked about the Hunger Games. And for some reason people were really mad when they saw the casting for the Hunger Games and Rue was played by a person of color, even though it says right in the text that she has dark skin. Like, yeah, white people, am I right? Obviously there's also a prequel to this series that came out this week. I will eventually get around to reading it. I don't really care about it. I feel like I have to read it because it's a big bookish release, but I'm not gonna throw my money or too much attention at it. I'm just on a 4-month hold list from the library to listen to it because did anyone really ask for a President Snow prequel? Because I sure didn't. But I feel like I'm gonna have to read it just because of the nature of being on booktube. Now that's it for this week. If you've read, watched, or listened to any of these, let me know about it down in the comments below. On the way down to the comments, if you hit that subscribe button, that would be very nice of you. If you don't feel like leaving a comment but want to make sure that I know you were here, just leave me an emoji or a smiley face if you're on your keyboard. You can like and share this as you see fit, and I will see you very soon. Bye! Oh, P.S. A couple of people have asked if there's a way to support me if I have a Patreon. I don't have a Patreon, but I did recently set up a Ko-fi account, so if you want to support me that way, you can. The link is obviously down below. I also have my Amazon wishlist linked down below. Okay, bye for real.